All right, all right, all right. Here we go. Hopefully not busting your eardrums. That tends to be a recurring theme with live streams. Why did my chat box just disappear? There we go. I want to be able to see what you guys are saying. If I'm too loud, let me know what's going on. Also, I'm coming through the speakers. That's embarrassing. That's embarrassing. That's embarrassing. Okay, now it's all gone. I didn't realize that I had my the volume turned up on my headset. So, I hate, you know what I hate about, this is so stupid, I hate that the webcam, I mean this is just a cheap webcam, the C920 Logitech, whatever, the one that everyone has. I just use it because I don't really care about these looking super professional. I want these to be kind of down to earth, like conversations between you guys. Anyway, I don't like how this webcam has that weird kind of scroll. You see it sometimes with the light, but if you look at my forehead, especially when it's brighter, you can see those lines moving down there. That's basically the sync rate of the frame rate of the monitor, or not monitored, but the frame rate of the camera kind of interfering with the lights, right? Because the lights are flickering at a certain refresh rate, and if that's not in perfect sync with the camera frame rate, then you have those issues. So that's kind of why you're seeing those weird lines. And I've noticed it's been getting worse lately. I think it's because the lighting in this room is just trash, because all of my studio lights are in the film room now. So as a consequence, I'm stuck using the one ceiling light in this room with 2 out of its 3 bulbs dead. Anyway, I mean, that was good. Gummy, well, Lisa and you move in together. Well, she's my wife, so I would hope that she plans to move in with me. We just got to get her here. I know she's still a German citizen, so there's a lot of paperwork involved with that. Let's see. We have Philip Downing. So what's your speculation on fan curves? Can't find a good explanation. Philip, I have a video on PWM. You should check it out. It's probably going to answer your question, or at least part of it. But you set your fan curves to optimally the lowest level possible so that they're quiet while also maintaining an adequate level of cooling. So there's a fine line there, kind of like with overclocking, right? Trying to find like that minimum voltage to hit the highest overclock, the highest frequency. So you got to play it up. Well, Bazinga, $50. That's like probably the biggest donation I've ever received. You did not have to do that. I really appreciate it, but I feel like there's nothing I could do in this chat to give you your money's worth. Let's see. I'll answer your question. That's the best I can do for now, but I do appreciate that. Rampage 6 Extreme, 4 sticks of RAM, DIMM C1 dead, so using A1, B1, A2, and B2. Okay. Windows sees all RAM. Any issues doing that? No, I mean, if you're running, I'm thinking A1, B1, A2, B2 should be dual channel or quad. No, if you have C and, okay, so yeah, you're probably running quad channel still, which is good if you have 4 sticks. Yeah, if you're running it in that config, you'll be fine. Obviously, if you put a module in that dead slot, you're gonna have a problem. But yeah, I think you're gonna be fine there. Just be careful though, because that might not just be like a motherboard issue. You could, maybe at one point you slid a module into that slot and something got messed up. You just never know. But I would say, for the most part, you're going to be fine doing that. Okay, here I see the spam. I see best motherboard for i7-8700K from Tatty Ninja. I'm going to say there are a lot of them out there. The one that I use personally is the Asus Hero, I don't remember if it's 10, Asus Hero 10. It's a Z370 board from Asus, the Hero lineup. It's a great board. It looks super sexy. I think Asus motherboards are some of the best looking out there, and they're dang reliable because they're Asus. So that's what I would say. Let's see. Hezadu12 asks, Greg, do you happen to watch anime? And the answer to that is no. I think the closest I ever got to watching anime when I was younger was I always watched the Yu-Gi-Oh series when that came on, because I was really big like in elementary school and middle school into like the Yu-Gi-Oh cards and stuff. So I watched that show a ton. I don't know if that really qualifies as anime. I don't watch like One Piece or Dragon Ball Z or Naruto or like any like the mainstream anime series out there, just because I don't know. I never really caught on to it very much. My brother is like a huge Naruto fan, but I never got into it. He also was a Dragon Ball Z fan. I think I did it kind of like in rebellion. Like he was such a fan of both of those shows that like I purposely didn't watch. I don't know. It's probably a dumb excuse, but I just never got into it. Lit Reviews, thank you for that $5 super chat, my dude. Right now I have a G4560. Do you think it's a good idea to get a Z270 motherboard and then upgrade to a 7700K and then get up a 750 Ti to a 960 Ti? I'm not sure what you're referring to there. Let's say 960. Yeah, look, your biggest bottleneck right now is more than likely gonna be that CPU. So what I suggest doing is either swapping platforms altogether. If you're going to buy a new motherboard, I would totally switch to Ryzen 5. Like get a Ryzen 5 1400 or 2400, and well, 2400 when it comes out. Ryzen 5 CPU, and then just kind of roll with it that way, because I don't know if you want to stay locked on a 4-core 8-thread i7 when you know that you could get a 6-core 12-thread i7 from a slightly newer generation than that. So it depends on the prices, but that's what I would do first. Definitely CPU upgrade first, though. I'm gonna fix this. I'm gonna fix this thing right here. Yeah, you guys are doing just fine. This is just me kind of being a little crazy here. I'm gonna make this a little larger, center this up just a little bit, because I want you guys to see this, just to honor the folks who have. That's the best I can do. Sorry. And let's center it up just a little bit more. It kind of looks bad. Let's move it down. Okay. Yeah, that's not too bad. Yeah, that's good. Okay. All right. Sorry about that. I was a little picky. But that way you guys can see the super chats, because I think you guys are super cool, and I want you guys to be recognized for that, because you don't have to do that to get your question answered. It guarantees that I answer, because you're going out of your way. Irfan Ahmed, I totally butchered your name, dude. I apologize. Any word on RAM prices? The answer to that is going to be like the same as it was last time with these live streams. Like it's not something that I can predict. I can't tell you when they're going to go down. We can look at past trends, right, when this happened last time, and kind of gauge it, but it ultimately depends on how fast the new modules, the production cycles work their way into the market. What I will say is that the companies in big doo-doo right now for what they've been doing will have to respond. And we've seen prices slightly come down anyway. I mean, RAM prices are already cheaper here in the States than they used to be. They're not where they should be, right? You could get 8 gigs of RAM for $50, you know, somewhere around there. You could get 16 gigs for $80, $90, sometimes less than that. But now 16 gigs cost $150, $160, and it used to cost $200 or more. So we're kind of in a transition phase. I would say, you know, we're not going to see the market truly level out to where prices should be within the next 6 months. It's going to take a while. So you never know. But every now and then you'll find 1 or 2 kits that's actually priced really well, and that's what you want to go after. So anyway, okay, a couple more super chats. I'm gonna get through these. Bazinga, thank you again. I appreciate that. Only 5 of the 50 is for you. The rest is for Pepsi and Lisa. Okay, all right. I appreciate that, and I'm sure they will too. Thanks for clarifying. I'm a little upset now. I'm just kidding. Zuzot, think of that $2 super chat. Would you go with the Fantex P350X or the Mesh Phi C? It depends on your price range. I think the 350X is a slightly better value case. That's just my 2 cents, my input based on the two. I think you get like a cleaner looking case with the Mesh Phi C, but the P350X, you get more in it, right? In the sense that like you get the customizable RGBs, and you still get a wide chassis. It's actually gonna be wider and support bigger graphics cards than the Mesh Phi C will, because it's actually a pretty slim case from a depth perspective, because there are some graphics cards you can't even fit into that case with an AIO if you place it up front, which is the only way you can really do it with a Mesh Phi C. So yeah, I mean, there are a couple things that you have to take into account, but I would say overall the better case is the Mesh Phi C, but the P350X is still a really good value, and it's hard to look away from that. Okay, I see you here, Alexander Padilla. Can you bring Pepsi on camera? Oh, she's sitting right here. Come here, Pepsi girl. Oh, here. The viewers want to say hi. The viewers want to say hi. Let's see if she'll actually do it. She's actually being pretty chill right now. she's probably gonna bite me in a second. But she was just sitting at the base of the on the floor right here, just watching me. It's kind of strange. She's gonna, I don't know where she's going. Okay. Anyway, yep. There's Beppis or whatever, however you guys said it. You guys called her Beppis or something, like you intentionally misspelled it, and I was cracking up. I thought that was really funny. Anyway, she's doing well. She just took a leap of faith. And I'm just going to make sure she doesn't go behind anything. Anyway, I see Eric Perry. What's going on? Thank you for that $5 super chat. My dude, new GPUs with old CPUs. How far back in terms of CPU before you begin to bottleneck your CPU? I mean, everything is going to be a bottleneck at some point, right? There's always going to be a bottleneck in your system, no matter what. There's no such thing as like a perfect balance because every game is optimized differently. All these different hardware configurations are going to communicate differently, right? You know, some AMD CPUs work better with NVIDIA GPUs. Like that was something that people were investigating way back when. And it's just because certain, you know, APIs, certain platforms, developers favor certain configurations. And that's something we have to work with. But I would say you could go back with Intel as far as maybe Ivy Bridge is still really good. I know a lot of people still use Ivy Bridge. That's still perfectly viable. And then AMD, I mean, it's hard because theirs is kind of like, woo, you got Ryzen up here, and then you plummet into the abyss, and then you have the bulldozer pile driver stuff. You can see it's not even on screen. That's because it's so bad. That was why nobody used Intel. I mean, people used Intel when they were on extreme budgets, but anybody with a decent amount of money would try to go after Intel because that was the only viable platform for like a modern gaming rig. And the frame rate disparities showed that. However, I will say that you could still make a case for bulldozer and pile driver on an extreme budget. If you can get either the FX 8350 or the 6300 for like 10 or 20 bucks, and then same thing with the motherboard, 20 bucks, and then maybe 50, 60 bucks for like 8 or 16 gigs of DDR3, then you've actually got a really sweet platform for dirt cheap, and it'll still run games decently. But I can't attest to how much money you'll get back because there's such a stigma now against that architecture. So I don't know. Let's see here. Kirby Wood asked, does a round peg go in a square hole? It's a good question. It depends on the diameter of the round peg and the, what would you say, I guess how long one side of the square hole is. But yeah, I'm sure you could probably figure that out. Beppis, there it is, Andrew Lott. I see it, you could call her Beppis. I think that's so funny, I don't know why. Like Pepsi's a weird name already, but Beppis is just like, it's just left field. Okay, here. Trucker Bomb, Dead Battery Club. You now have 3 bars, Trucker Bomb. How does it feel to be in the Yellow Battery Club? You almost have a full charge. I think it's going to look so cool when you guys get the full green battery. If you sponsor us for, what, 3 months or so, then you move up to the top tier YouTube sponsor on our channel, and then you get the green battery. So, pretty cute, yeah. All right. Samacus? I don't know. Anyway, thank you for the $5 super chat. I had a problem where I found out I had a dead RAM stick about 1.5 years after I bought them. No original packaging or anything. Can I still RMA? If you don't have the packaging, it's going to be really tough. The modules usually have like a sticker that'll say like, void if removed or whatever, usually indicating that you tampered with the product. But I'm not too sure about it. I would say more than likely no, just because you don't have proof of purchase. I don't know how, transferable these warranties are. They're not really like cars. So I honestly can't tell you, but I would say more than likely the odds are no, you won't be able to get that thing serviced under warranty or replaced under warranty. Okay, let's see here. Scrolling down, all the good stuff you guys are asking. You guys are asking some good questions here. Let's see. Okay, hey Greg, here's one from Mr. Jackie Lantern. Hey Greg, I recently bought an 1800X with an X370 Tai-Chi. Which current/upcoming RAM would give the best performance with an overclock? It's really tough with the first-gen Ryzen stuff. That architecture is very stubborn when it comes to higher clocked memory. Usually XMP profile is a no-go unless you're using a Ryzen-specific kit. I know G-Skill has some Ryzen-specific stuff out there. Team Group has, I think, a couple modules, but you got to look for the title, right? It says like optimized for Ryzen or whatever, and that usually indicates that you'll be able to get the overclock that you're looking for on that platform. So look for that specific thing and go from there. Okay, I am scrolling down again. I see you guys. I see the good questions. Thank you so much for the good stuff. for you guys giving me content. Otherwise, I'm just gonna be looking like a fool, just staring into the screen. Okay, we have Rajmir asks, can you suggest an AIO for an 8700K or 7820X, excuse me, for 28 degree to 30 degrees Celsius ambient temp? Because someone is saying 240 mil is enough. Another says go for 280 or 360 for 5 gigahertz. It really depends on your CPU, because every CPU has been slightly different. You know, what you have usually, you have all these wafers, right, that have all these dies on them, and they cut the dies down. They smash these things into chips in like a really rough sense, and then your specific die is going to have a certain degree of imperfection, and the extent to which that imperfection takes over the die determines how stubborn it is to voltage increases, how stable overclocks will be, how high you can overclock. So it depends on your CPU. I really can't tell you. Obviously, if you have more surface area in your radiator, you're going to be better off. It's kind of like breathing room, but there's no set in stone answer because I haven't tested your CPU. I would say in most cases 240 mil is fine though if you are looking for like a diehard answer. Okay, here we go. Jeffy8696 asks, why does caregiver and caretaker mean the same thing? Dude, that's a seriously good question. I'm doubting the English language. I like that. That's pretty good. Metal Mods, do you think an R5 2600 and a 1063 gig will have a good balance or a lot of bottlenecking? Again, depends on the game. I can't really tell you. On the surface though, I think your 1060 is probably going to be more of a bottleneck, and that I'll tell you what's really going to be a bottleneck is that 3 gig buffer. So buying a 1063 gig is just kind of like cutting the cart off at its knees, in my opinion, because there are plenty of games now that'll utilize more than that VRAM available in like a modest resolution like 1080p. So I would say your graphics card first, mainly because of that. Semicus, again, $2 super chat. Oh, well, thanks for the answer. No problem. Thank you for the $2 just to say thank you to me. I appreciate it. The Wreckers, I saw a good one from the Wreckers. Let me see, I'm scrolling up here. The Wreckers 32. What do you think is the best GPU to pair with an i3-8100? That's tough. I would say 1050 Ti territory, RX 560, kind of in that zone. You could probably go up, I think, max to an RX 580 or a GTX 1060. Don't go with a 3 gig buffer, go with a 6 gig buffer, just to be on the safe side. That's probably where I would leave it. Anything higher than that, your CPU is almost always going to be the bottleneck with that chip. Ranga at Science Studio, you should come to Australia and build a cheap used gaming PC using Gumtree and stuff. It'd be a sick video. Also love your content. I appreciate that, and I will be sure to reach out to Brian, who I talk with quite a bit. You guys know he's in the Discord. He's more active usually than I am in Discord, and our channels kind of use the same server, so we can, collaborate and do all that stuff and share ideas and everything. The community's actually melded really well. So yeah, I want to go to Australia. The problem is it's just so expensive. Like a plane ticket to Taiwan, for example, when we go to Computex is around $1,000, $1,200, and then to go from there to Sydney or Brisbane or any other decently sized city in Australia is going to cost another $1,000. To go from LA to Sydney is at least $1,500, and to go from where I am in Florida to Sydney is like $2,000. So it would be great to go to Australia, but I don't love it that much. That's a lot of money. So anyway, okay, I'm scrolling down here. Hey man, is my 2600K still good? Yeah, Sufiane, I think that's how you say your name. Yeah, I mean that's fine. Like unless you see a huge bottleneck in the games you're playing, if your system's acting really slow and it's not your drive, you've isolated that variable, that CPU in most cases is still fine. Whether you feel the need to upgrade is entirely dependent upon what you do with your system. Ducks Exist, interesting name. How often do you change your motherboard, or how often do motherboards usually last for someone that doesn't really need the top gear every month? I mean, I've only had one motherboard, I think, ever die on me. Motherboards, for the most part, are reliable. They're just pains in the butt to troubleshoot. Like, you test everything else in your system only to find out that it's either your CPU or your motherboard, and once you've narrowed it down that far, then you essentially have to either buy a new motherboard to test the CPU or buy another CPU to test the CPU that you already have, right? So, yeah, that's a pain to troubleshoot. Misty is doing something crazy in there. I don't know. I bought her this litter box. So she's had this small, smaller litter box, and she always, like, she'll go in there, she'll do what she's got to do, and then she'll flick that litter all over the floor. And I've had to clean that thing at least once every few days because there's just litter all over the floor. I have it in our second bathroom, so I don't really use that for, I mean, I'm the only one here. When Lisa's here, it's just her and I. We just use the master bathroom. So that one's pretty much Pepsi's at this point, and she just throws litter everywhere. So I bought her this like concealed one, or not concealed, but it's sealed up. So it's got the top part that covers everything. So when she flicks litter, it doesn't, leave the box and actually spread out. But I don't know what she's doing in there. I sound like she's trying to take the whole lid off. I'll probably end up going in there in a second, only to find that she's managed to get it off somehow. Anyway, back to tech. Caillou, I don't know if I said that right. Caillou Luis, how does it feel to be in a relationship with someone that has a different mother tongue? Like, Lisa speaks really good English. I mean, considering, like, she speaks better English than a lot of Southerners speak down here. And that was something I took pride in high school. Like, I hated English class, but I learned quite a bit in English school. I did really well on my English placement exams. Our AP tests and my ACTs and all that stuff, just because, I don't know, to me it just clicked. It made sense. Like, I would say a sentence in my head and be like, that doesn't sound right. And I would know exactly what to fix most of the time. And she's actually, I mean, I don't speak German, so I don't know how good her German is, like, with respect to how good my English is. But I know that her English, which is not perfect, I mean, she still learns a few words every now and then, is still much better than many of my friends who have lived here their whole lives and spoken English their whole lives. So, and I tell her that, like, sometimes she gets discouraged. She's like, I don't know how to say this word, or like I'll jab her a little bit and I'll laugh at something she says because it's just like so weird. Like she calls sky, like when you say, like, you look up into the sky, right? Like, she calls it heaven. And I'm like, heaven means something totally different. And I mean, I get what you're saying, like the heavens, right? Like, we use that every now and then as like a hyperbole for space or stars or whatever. But she calls the sky heaven, so it's like she makes it sound even more intense than it actually is. So I don't know. I just think it's interesting, and it's really cute too. She speaks really well though, so it's not really an issue for me. I just enjoy getting to teach her simple things sometimes. I'm like, this word is something we learn when we're in 3rd, 4th grade, but to be able to teach somebody who is learning is actually it's a really good feeling. Okay, JP Achilles, thank you for that $5 super chat, my dude. Do you have any opinions on aftermarket GPU coolers? Not the type you get on AIB cards, more like the stuff like the Arctic Accelero 4. Okay, I know what you're talking about. I haven't actually tested one of those. I was thinking about doing, like, I know like Pallet, I think Pallet's the manufacturer, it might be somebody else, but I know like some of those third-party GPU coolers out there don't even require fans. And I've been wanting to test one for the longest time. Like, they work up to a certain spec, right? So some of them won't work on like a 1080 Ti, right? That the higher TDP, higher heat output per power consumption, per wattage consumed, per watt consumed. But I've looked into that. I haven't tested anything yet regarding it, but I would like to. And I actually have two 1080s from EVGA that, like, I don't know what I did. I don't know if I threw them away accidentally, but I lost the stock like air coolers on those cards, so they've just been fitted with water blocks for the longest time. So I've only been able to use them in my custom loops. But I've been thinking about buying one of those third-party coolers to stick on those PCBs so that I could actually use them in air-cooled builds, because I'm sick of using them in water-cooled builds. Anyway, let's see here. Shane Lucy. What graphics card goes well with an FX 8350? That's a tough one. I would say up to maybe a GTX 970 if you want to stay in Maxwell Gen stuff, 1060 from Pascal, and then maybe RX 570, 580. Same thing. Like, I wouldn't go higher than that, or you're going to notice some pretty serious bottlenecks when it comes to CPU intensive titles. Oh, sorry, I got to breathe for a second. Andrew Locked. Why is there not an MATX X470 board? It's because MATX is it's niche. Like, we were talking about this in the Discord. Like, MATX is literally only about that much shorter than a full-size ATX motherboard. And they're often just as wide. So the only dimension that you save when choosing MATX versus full ATX is the dimension of height, which most people don't care about. And that's why MATX doesn't sell anywhere near as much as its ATX counterpart, or let alone ITX for that matter. So it's all about demand. If you guys demanded MATX way more, then you would see more options out there. But the demand's not there, and that's why you don't see it. And this is like, motherboard vendors have actually told me this. It's all about demand, and they just don't get enough. You know, they're not incentivized enough to mass produce tons of micro ATX boards on any platform, let alone X470, which is relatively new by comparison. Bob Flanders, what's going on, Bob? Thanks for that $5 super chat. He says, hi, Greg. You probably know about Moore's Law and Murphy's Law, but do you know about Cole's Law? Oh, don't think so. I know I did a video on Moore's Law talking about like the limits of transistor theory and like how small we can get transistors packed into dies and whatnot. But Cole's Law I've never heard of before, so I will actually write that down. I'm going to write it right here in this Word document because I want to read about that. That sounds fun. And just so you guys know, the reason why I say thanks for learning with us at the end of every video is because I usually have to learn this stuff right before I deliver whatever content I'm delivering. I mean, nobody knows things when they're born. You have to learn things. So it's a way for me to kind of juxtapose myself next to you and say, look, I'm no different. You know, like you're learning this from the video if you don't already know it, and I had to learn this from some other source. So welcome to the club. You know, it's kind of like me trying to just show that I'm no different than anyone else learning something. Because people tend to think we have huge egos. I used to have a really big ego. I don't care as much anymore about it. Like if YouTube doesn't work, you know, I have other plans. I have my degrees. I have stuff I could do. But I want to keep this around. I want to keep you guys here. I want to keep you happy because this is fun. You know, I say this pretty much every time, but I love doing what I'm doing. It's an honor, really, to be able to talk to, say, 265 of you randomly on a Sunday night. The fact that you would take time to watch this live stream is awesome, and I really do appreciate that. Okay. Let's see. Somebody says, Rubes4Cubes says, teach your cat to go outside. My cat used to use a litter box, but he grew out of it. Yeah, I don't want Pepsi going outside, though. Like, when you introduce a cat to the outside world, like, there are so many other things to consider. You know, they can get scratched by cats and get infections. They can get fleas and mites and all that crap. We have an outside cat. My parents do. He kind of goes in and out whenever he wants. He's so lazy and spoiled. Like, he comes in, eats, and then leaves again. Like, he takes full advantage of my parents, basically. But he had this problem with mites in his ear, and he still has that problem, and he only got it when he started going outside. So it's just something that I don't want to put Pepsi through right now. And it's going to cost more too, because you got to give him, you know, special shots and stuff, and I'm not into that. Potatogenic, thank you for that $1 super chat, Potato. I'm looking for a question that you asked, right? I know you can't like type a message with a $1 super chat, but that's really stupid. You should be able to if you pay a cent. I don't really care. But I don't see a question from you. Nope, I don't see one. Okay, let's take a question here from Ernest L. Do you have a degree in computer science or information systems? If so, can you elaborate on your experience? I have a degree in petroleum engineering, which emphasizes, right, the extraction of petroleum hydrocarbons from the ground, but it's when I explain it to people, I tell them that a lot of it overlaps with mechanical. There are a lot of mechanical principles we have to abide by when we drill into the earth. It overlaps with geology, it overlaps with chemistry and chemical engineering, especially like the separation part of it, right? When you're separating the chemicals in processing plants and what have you. So it's more like, if you can't really relate to the petroleum part, just think of it like a specialized mechanical engineering degree is essentially what it is. And I chose it because at the time, like, the economy was booming and energy was hot, right? Like, if you worked in the energy sector, you got paid big bucks. So, I mean, look, you're going to work, right? And most people don't enjoy what they do when they work. That's why they call it work. And if I'm going to work, I want to make the most money I can working. So that was my idea. That was the thought process I had. Little did I know that YouTube would become my full-time job, right? So, yeah, it just goes to show you that nobody can plan for the future, not in this way. So, yeah, but the good thing is, though, I kept my options open. I finished school. I'm about to finish with my master's in business admin, so I can really take that anywhere. But I'm, you know, at this point, I'm not using it. I'm not using my bachelor's either, and I think that's really cool. So yeah, see, Taipei, Taiwan, 10 petroleum engineering pays close to 100K per year within 3 years. Yeah, when we got hired, and I know this is off topic. I'm sorry. I'll get to your questions. When we got not hired, but when we were recruited to the school, because I was originally going to business school, and then my dad told me, he's like, hey, check out this school. They're telling you like they can get you 100% job placement. The energy sector is doing really well, and this and that. And I was sold on it. Like, I was looking at the salaries, looking at the work that they do, and I'd always thought geology was cool, and that kind of overlapped with petroleum engineering. So I was like, yeah, screw it. I was a little scared of the math, but my brother's a math whiz. So he and YouTube, Patrick JMT from YouTube, he and my brother helped me through my differential equations, calculus classes, stuff like that. So big helps, and a lot of my success, at least in those degree pursuits, go to them. But that was something that I was sold on, right? It was like the high paying salary. And then once OPEC flooded the market with petroleum, and we were kind of stuck just processing petroleum, but not actually extracting it, like drilling into the ground thousands of feet, most of the time offshore, we didn't really have job offers. And I never really applied really hard but by the time I started getting serious about looking for a job in the field was when YouTube for me was already starting to pick up pretty high. So right around the time that I had bought all that Apple gear, right, I spent like $2,000 buying a bunch of Apple crap. Right around the time that video got really popular, because I think that to date is our most popular video. It has like 1.2 million views, whatever. I'm pretty sure that was when I decided, I was like, okay, I can do YouTube full time. And I didn't actually put out job offers because I didn't go to career fairs or anything like that, because I just didn't think it would be worth it. So I just wanted to give this a shot. And worst case, it didn't work. If this YouTube channel dies tomorrow, I hope it doesn't, but if something happens tomorrow, hopefully I'll have something to fall back on. I don't just want to put all my eggs in this basket, because that's what I did before this when I applied for the Air Force Academy. And I was there for like 2 weeks, and I decided, nope, I'm not doing this. So I didn't have a fallback plan. That's why I went to business school. So anyway, there's a history of my life. So sorry about that for those of you who were listening and weren't interested. Okay, here. What about a crude oil CPU cooler? Interesting. Sean Campbell, I'm a cybersecurity major. Any advice before I graduate? Cybersecurity is not really my forte. Like programming software stuff is like beyond me. That's all Will stuff. Like Will can like speak like 10 different programming languages. Like he'll learn languages overnight. He'll just sit down and just like study it and see how it differs from like C# and all these other ones that he's already familiar with, and just pick it up. What's going on, Chris? I see Chris Stoles in the chat. What's going on, man? I see you there. We have a super chat from Defy TV. What's going on, Defy? Thank you for that $5 super chat. I have an i5 6600K, all right, and a 1060 3 gig, looking to upgrade to either a 2700X or an 8700K and a 1070 Ti, or 1070 or a Ti. What would be the best combo for streaming? Keep it up. If you're streaming, I would say, like, I'm using the 2700X right now. I think the 2700X is a really great step up from the 1700X. I don't think it's worth upgrading specifically from the former to the latter, but I think the 2700X is a great multitasking CPU. It's much easier to just run XMP with the new stuff. The 12 nanometer fabrication. It's also easier to overclock. You don't require as much voltage to get the same overclocks. So it means the CPU runs cooler, means it'll last longer, and it generally will do as well when streaming and playing games as the 8700K with a few minor tweaks. So yeah, that's what I would go with. And I think the 1070 would be good enough for you in most cases. 1070 Ti, if you can get it for around the same price as the 1070, which is the case in most cases because it's so common right now. I think the 1070 Ti came out when the market was just really hurting. So there's a surplus of them in inventory. So that's why you see 1070 Ti's everywhere. So you might be able to get one up. Okay, let's see. Francis A, is a DDR3 system worth it today? Francis, I don't know the answer to that question because I don't know how much money we're talking. Like I said earlier, if you rewind the live stream, I was talking about an FX platform with a graphics card. That's where I would probably stick it in that price range. Let's see here. The Legend Broly SS says, still waiting for you to do the crash dance. The crash dance is on screen, right? So whenever somebody subscribes or donates, then we get Crash Bandicoot. Crash Bandicoot is my favorite game of all time. By the way, if you're gonna spam, I see what you did, Mr. Antonio. Nobody else is gonna see, but if you spam the chat with a bunch of emojis to get my attention, and then have the audacity in the same comment to ask for free stuff, because that's literally how you worded it, can you give me free stuff, I'm going to banhammer you. I don't like doing it, I really don't, but it's not fair to everyone else. Okay. Let's see here. I see worst Pascal GPU for the price from Record 32. I don't really know. That's really tough. I think the 1050 Ti. Like, what's the crap they've been doing with the 1030 and the 1050? The different. I haven't even really been following up the issues with the RAM, the speed of the RAM. Like the lower end stuff is where NVIDIA really tries to chop you. Like they tried to do that with the 970, right? So they're kind of doing a similar thing with the 1030, and it might be the 1050. If I'm confused, you know which one I'm talking about. But I think the lower end stuff, there's a lot of sneaky stuff going on. So just be careful and be aware of what you're looking for. Okay, let's see here. We have Computer Man asks, should my CPU cooler be okay if I left it out for a month? Should it be okay if you left it out? I don't know what you're talking about. It is not covered. Could you help me? I don't know what you mean by covered. Like if it's just sitting on your desk, I'm pretty sure it's gonna be fine. I don't know what you're talking about. Jerry Watson, are you going to buy a Tesla? No, I just bought a Q60 Red Sport Infinity. I don't like Teslas. I've never been into Teslas. Like I don't know what all, like it's cool, like it's an electric car, awesome, but like to me they're not worth the money. They're really not. I'd prefer an engine sound, to be honest with you anyway. So even if it came down to, you know, equal maintenance, you know, even if gas was pretty expensive, I would still probably choose the gas car, not because I'm trying to be defiant or stubborn. I just appreciate petrol engines. I like the sounds of them. I like being able to work on them. I'm an engineer. It kind of fits, right? I like learning about cars, about car engines, how all that stuff works. And I think it just fits, I don't know, it fits the profile a bit better. Dennis Rigdon, thank you for that $5 super chat. For your love of Crash Bandicoot, same here, and slam the hammer. What's going on, my dude? He says Swiftrage. Is Swiftrage in the chat? Is Swiftrage doing something down there? I can't always keep up with this stuff, so we need a couple applicants for some moderators in the chat. And when you get the moderator link, then I see Chris. I'm gonna mod Chris. Chris works for Corsair. Let's see, add mod. There you go, Chris. Took me a while to find you again, but there you go. So Chris can mod whenever Chris has time. Brian Staker says you should get a Dodge Hellcat. I don't like the looks of Dodges. I think I never really liked muscle cars like that. I don't know. There's a certain affinity I have for foreign cars. I've always felt this way. It's why my first real car that was my own, other than the one I leased beforehand, was an Audi S5. I love that car. It was a V8. And then this one's a Nissan Infiniti. My dad had a GTR, so I always wanted to get something kind of like that. And then my dad has an Audi now, and I wanted an Audi like him, so I don't know. I've kind of been following him, but I really like those kinds of cars. That's just my preference. The Hellcats, it's fast. I know it's fast AF, and it's mean. It sounds good, but it's just not my style. It's really not. Okay. Patrick Williamson says, you don't like Dodge, unsub. I'm so sorry, Patrick. I'm not gonna tell you what you want to hear so that you do sub. I'll tell you that. Okay, here we go. John Marhefka, hey man, if I were looking to get into YouTube, what would you recommend camera-wise? I would recommend either a G85 or a G7 from Panasonic, Micro Four Thirds, or maybe a Canon 5D, like a 5D Mark 4? Are they in Mark 4 now? I know Canons are really good for video. They have great autofocus systems, but that's probably where I would stand. I wouldn't go full frame mirrorless. I think going with like a Sony a7 III would just be too much money when you get started. You want to at least see if you can get it off the ground first. So investing that much money in something that you don't even have like a solid foundation on yet is just a little too risky for me. Okay, Nanner Plant i3 8350K. How do you feel about it? I think it's a step in the right direction, but it's still an i3 and it still costs quite a bit of money. I don't think it's as ridiculous as a 7350K, which was my box opener of choice for a long time, but it's still an i3. And look, I got nothing against i3s. My first modern computer was an i3. What was it? An i3, oh geez, 4150? What am I thinking of? i3, I can't remember. It was a Haswell i3. That was like the most recent i3 PC I built. And it was okay. But I think that there are better options from Ryzen than the i3. So that's my 2 cents in that matter. Neo Dubs, what are your opinion on the new MacBook Pros? Look, I've only really been interested in the 13-inch MacBook Pros. I have a 13-inch MacBook Pro, the previous gen, but it still has like the new design, right? The new chassis. I just think that the fact that those 13-inch MacBook Pros don't come with dedicated graphics, discrete graphics like an MX150, that's a deal breaker now because I use the Huawei MateBook Pro X, and I think it's sitting right there. So that's the Huawei. The MateBook Pro X is awesome because for about $1,500 you get an i7. Right, the quad-core Kaby Lake R i7, and you get an MX150 discrete graphics chip, which can actually run decent games for what it is. You can play PUBG and Fortnite with it on lower settings in 1080p, which is actually pretty impressive, especially for an Ultrabook. 13 inches, it's really thin. So knowing that I could get a laptop like that now with an almost identical footprint to the MacBook Pro 13-inch model, I think that MacBook is just not even in question anymore. The 15-inch MacBook Pros, they're great. I just don't like the way that, the throttling thing, that's not too big a deal for me. Like, I think people kind of blew that a little out of proportion. Although it should be noted, people should know what's happening. I think it's fine to report on it, but to just condemn MacBooks for having this problem, like, that's a little ridiculous because almost every laptop out there that's thin and light is gonna, thermal throttle to some extent under certain workloads. And a lot of these people who were testing the MacBook 15 inches were putting them under insanely artificial and heavy workloads. So, I just don't see it really being a viable way to test real-world performance because other than like serious content rendering and stuff like that, which if you have a MacBook, use Final Cut Pro, it's going to be lightning quick anyway. When would you actually need to be worried about that? So anyway, that's my take on Apple. I don't like defending them. I've never really been like a diehard Apple fan. I like the simplicity of iOS for phones, but I think now I've moved on from MacBooks. There are better options out there, especially now for the price. Okay, Dennis, no, I see, Rogender Singh, sup dude, so you playing your PlayStation? It's whack, PlayStation is whack, sup the whack PlayStation, sup. I'm glad I read that. Oh boy, okay here. Betea 100 says, why buy the i9 then? That's because the i9 is actually, if you look at synthetics, the i9 is still a better performer than the i7. Like there's a reason why it exists, and it's because it's a better chip. It does give you better results. Now marginally, I'm not sure. I haven't run tests myself. But the i9 is there for a reason because it is a better chip, despite it thermal throttling under certain scenarios. So, take it for what it is. I just don't like it when people condemn a product because it's a product. Like Apple does do shady stuff, I know, okay? It doesn't elude me that they do. But at the same time, I mean, if we're going to hold Apple accountable for this stuff, I think there are other companies that do similar things that we should be consistent about. I used MacBooks for the longest time because of Final Cut Pro. It was the best rendering content creation solution at the time. I didn't care what Apple was, the keyboard thing was an issue that came up later on, and that was something I condemned right away, and I could attest to firsthand because my spacebar did go to crap and I had to take it apart myself and fix it, almost breaking a few of those little grooves that hold the thing in, like hold the key into the board. So yeah, I know it was a pain. Anyway, just Pepsi's sitting right here under the monitor. She's kind of scaring me. She might bite a cable. Anyway, let's see here. Yo Gender, I did read your comment. I read your question already. You're asking why I changed my channel name. I changed that a long time ago. And I talk about that in that video, the dedicated video talking about the channel name. I talk about why I changed it. You're asking a question I already answered in a video. Let's see. Thanks for getting my name right, by the way. A lot of people mess up the pronunciation. Marefka? That's what I would say. I don't know. I'm pretty sure I said that the same way the first time. Hopefully I'm consistent. Epic Hunter 11, do you plan on having children? I mean, yeah, I hope so. I think the kids are a cool way to pass on your legacy and just makes life exciting where it otherwise would begin to get very boring, I guess. I don't know. It's just like, it's the next step. It just makes sense. But not hopefully for a while, I would say. Maybe a few years down the road is when we'll consider that. Okay. Nanner plant, is this a balanced combo? 8600K with a 1080? Sure, for gaming. I don't know your you guys aren't giving me enough info, so I can't really tell you, but I would say in most cases, sure, yeah. Toxic Masta, what is your personal rig specs? I have two of them that I switch out between all the time. The 2700X, 32 gigs of RAM, 1070 Ti, and the 8700K, 1070 Ti, 32 gigs of RAM. And I content create in game on both of them. I live stream on the 2700X primarily because of the extra horsepower behind the extra cores. But the 8700K is my gaming rig primarily because it's an 8700K. And then my rendering rig is in the other room, the film room, and that has a 7980XE in it, which is overkill, not something I would buy on my own. I just have it at my convenience, so I figured, what the heck. Okay, Pepsi, stop clawing my hand. That hurts. I swear, this cat, her claws are so bad. Let's see. Stop it. Stop. You pick Hannah asks, how did you introduce yourself to your wife? I didn't introduce myself. I mean, we kind of like, she worked for a company that helped us get to Computex last year, Computex 2017, and we met them there. It was the first time ever, right underneath Taipei 101, and I didn't know anything about her. I had sent her a few emails online, and that was it. But it kind of took off from there. So yeah, it's kind of weird to explain like that. I'm trying to keep it short and sweet, but it was really cool. I mean, I thought she was beautiful, and I just didn't know if she was already with somebody, or heck, for all I knew, married, whatever. You don't know somebody's story when you first meet them. So that's what we spent a lot of time that week and weeks following that, just chatting online and stuff on Skype and what have you, getting to know each other. And I flew to see her for the first time in Germany after that, and just you're just experimenting. You're trying to see if it works. You want to see if you're compatible with this person. I knew she was. I knew she was a good girl. I knew she'd be good for me. And then that's why we're married now. Not that I deserve to be married to her. I mean, she deserves far better than me, in my opinion. But she puts up with all the crap I give her, and I love her for it. Quickshot Gaming, how well do you think an Asetek 545LC would cool a 1070 reference style? The pre-built I bought can only support a 92mm fan. That's going to be, I don't know. I haven't actually tested anything like that, so that's kind of tough. The 545LC, I'm not sure. I don't want to give you the wrong impression because I haven't actually tested the hardware. I apologize if you'd have to super chat me to get that question basically shot down, but I just don't have hands-on experience with it. I would refer to forums. Honestly, that's the best I can do for you because I just don't know. Worst case, you have to downclock the 1070 frequency a little bit, but I don't think you'll be like in a terrible situation. Okay, scrolling back down here. Did I miss somebody? I feel like I missed a super chat or two. Oh, okay, I see. Okay, I see. Dennis Rigdon says Swiftrage is basically an angry face emote on Twitch. Oh, I don't Twitch, bro, so I don't even know like any of those references. Now I feel really dumb. At the boy Icarus, thank you for that $2.99 super chat. Love the channel, man. Keep it up. I appreciate that, Icarus. Thank you very much. And then one more here, Brandon. That's his name, Brandon. They donated $5 through the super chat. I appreciate that. He says, building a Corsair themed PC and wanted to know your opinion on what case I should get, the Crystal 460X, 570X, or Spec Omega. Like, I hate the 460X. I mean, I think it looks really good, but it's a pain to build, and I think the basement is dumb. And I said that in my review of the 400C. And I think I also reviewed, what did I review after that? The 460X? Was it the 460X? I don't remember. I know I did two videos, one on the original 400C and I think one on the newer model. and I couldn't get over how difficult it was to build in. So Godspeed. It's gonna look really good if you finish it and do it in a timely manner and manage to keep the cable management in check. But 460 is a really big pain to deal with. Spec Omega is probably gonna be your best bet from that perspective. Okay, I'm scrolling down here. Okay. The coffee addicted writer asked, why no Twitch? And it's because we don't have a huge Twitch following. So like if all of you guys went and subbed or not subbed, but like followed us, you don't have to pay us money or anything, whatever. But like if you just follow us on Twitch, then that's cool, because then maybe that'll motivate me to stream on Twitch. But when I stream live on just Twitch, I get like 10 or 20 viewers. Like why would I do that when I can get 250 here? You know, sometimes more than that. So that's the thought process behind avoiding Twitch for now. You guys gotta jump onto the platform, show me you want Twitch if you want me to move over there. Jimmy142 Schmidt, do you think cable mod cables are worth it? Yeah, look, I think that they're pretty expensive, right, for what they are. If you think about it, they're just cables, but they make the build look so much better. If you have the extra money in your budget to work on aesthetics in your build, if you care that much about it, I think custom cables are some of the best investments from an artsy kind of perspective, right, making your build look good. I think that's one of the best investments you can make. And cable mod, they put these cables together so quick, and you can kind of customize it. You can decide if you want to spend more money on pro cables. You know, if you want to spend more money on combs, if so, what kind of combs? You know, do you want the metal combs or the plastic combs or whatever? They give you a lot of options. You know, and you don't have to buy every cable out there. You can buy specific cables, custom extensions, whatever. They give you all those options in their configurator. And that's what I really like about cable mod, is they're so diverse in what they offer. And if you think about it, I mean, what you're getting aesthetic-wise for the price isn't all that bad when seen in the context of what your build probably cost to begin with. Okay, my voice is so shot. I'm trying. Ooh, okay. I see a few questions from... I'm trying to go back and see if I missed... Okay, all right. Sam Fisher, any thoughts on the upcoming next-gen GPUs? Also, should someone who want to buy a 1080 Ti wait for the 1180 Ti? If you want to wait. I can't tell you how badly you want to see the graphics card. If you want a graphics card now, buy a 1080. If you feel like waiting, I think waiting is worth it. I don't know your thought process, so I can't answer that for you. Would I wait? It depends. Do I need it now? If I didn't need it right away, I would think I would wait. That's probably what I would do. I don't really look into like the rumors behind next-gen GPUs. I usually wait until we get solid evidence that this card will perform this well. We have evidence of like how the architecture is gonna relate to different you know, the T-flop values and all that stuff. I like to see the figures before I start making speculations about stuff like that. Let's see. Epic Hunter says, very nice facial structure. My dude, thank you for that. I appreciate it. I appreciate that. He says you could pull off being bald. Yeah, I probably could, but then I would look like I was 35. You know? I don't know. Let's see. Greg, please help. I can't fit my cable extensions inside of my P400S. That's tough. I know that feeling. Like, I know how tough it is to get those cables smashed into that right side panel, especially when you have extensions. What I suggest doing is trying to wrap some of those cables behind the motherboard tray. Like, for instance, your 24 pin, run it up along the back edge of your case where you would normally run your 8-pin EPS. Run your 24 pin back there as well, and then have it connect to your extension right behind your motherboard. And then you can have the extension wrap perfectly around through the rubber grommets in the P400S to give you that clean look. That's sometimes what I do with builds like that when I can't fit those extensions behind, you know, the section of the motherboard tray just above the hard drive bays. Anyway, if you ever did, you would have Dennis Rigdon. That syntax, my dude. It's pretty bad. Well, I think you're asking if I'd ever want to build Walter White again. If you ever did, you would have to. Oh, if you ever did, you would have to rebuild Walter White. I see what you're saying now. Okay, I had to dissect that. I thought it was just like mismatched words, but no, I see what you're saying now. That would be cool. And then I could say my name. I am the one who knocks. Okay, I love that show. What's your opinion on the Pentium G4560 I think it's a fine CPU on a budget, although it would be really tough for me to recommend a Pentium over Ryzen 3 or Ryzen 5. Like, it's really tough. Like, the lower end Intel stuff is just really tough to contemplate in my head over a Ryzen 5. If I was building a system in that price category, I would go with a Ryzen 3 or 5 any day of the week, just because I know I get the extra horsepower from the cores. If I run into a situation where the cores themselves bottleneck me, I don't have to worry about that as much on the Ryzen platform. If I want to multitask, try streaming on a G4560. It's going to be tough. You know, even if you have an overkill graphics card like a 1080 Ti. So that's how I see it, anyway. Okay. A couple more questions here. It's 9:55. I try to keep these about an hour's length or so. I appreciate all the good stuff, you guys. And just a heads up, tomorrow I'm going to be finishing one of my finals for class. So, and it's exciting because I only have 2 more classes after that. And then 2, not 4. I have 2 more classes left, and then I will have my master's, which is freaking crazy. I never thought I would get a master's degree, but yeah. And then so I'll graduate in October. I'll be finished with classes in October, and I'll walk the stage in December. Okay, ow, Pepsi, jeez, she just dug her nail through the bed of my nail. Like, that was painful. Okay. Whew. Let's see here. Nostradamus, as an engineering major, are you pleased with... I'm not an engineering major anymore. I have my engineering degree. I just didn't really... I mean, I didn't really think that, you know, technology was moving really slow. Sorry, to answer your question, yeah, he asks, are you pleased with where technology innovations are going? Do you think it's quite slow? Yeah, I didn't really think that it was, you know, moving that slow when I was just consuming products, when I was a typical consumer buying stuff. I was never that informed. I was never like waiting for the next thing because I felt limited by the technology I had. I just learned to make do with it. There's no sense in like being angry about the state of technology, because how do we know what's coming up, you know, next? Like, we get these rumors and stuff. We don't really know true performance numbers, so we don't know what price to you know, value is going to be. That value perspective is always something to question, and that's why reviewers like myself exist out there, right? To answer the question. So anyway, okay. By the way, if you spam the chat, you get ban hammered. I should probably just be like putting you guys in timeout. Then I feel like you're going to be doing it again. I don't think it's banning you from the whole channel, so I think you're fine there. But don't spam. That's just not proper etiquette. Okay. Why make Fortnite for a Mac if they are not built for gaming? Ow. I mean, that's a question I really don't want to get into. I think you could really game on anything. I think the MacBook 15-inch is capable of gaming. It's not a great gamer. It's not a gaming laptop, but it's capable of doing it. So I think that the way you worded it's a little misleading. I agree. Okay, well, I'll give you that, though. It's not built for gaming, sure, but you can game on it, and that's why they showed you that you could. That's why it's there. Virility PC Customs, what's going on, Tony? Hope your Sunday night is going well, my dude. Tony is, if you guys don't know who Tony is, you should by now. Click on his channel, check him out. He has a lot of cool stuff behind the scenes with his experiences, custom loop building. He's done like cable, you do cable extensions. He's sleeved a bunch of kits for us. And I always try to remember to give him shout outs when he does, because he just, you know, he does it in his free time. He's a really cool dude, and I appreciate that. So he says, if you could only use one case manufacturer from now on, who would it be, and what is one thing you would change about their cases? That's tough. Basically asking me to sell out to a company, Tony. He's trying to trap me here. I think that the company making the best cases right now, Pepsi, if you bite my leg one more time, I'm going to lock you out of this room. It hurts. It hurts. Stop it, girl. Okay. I would say that... Oh, man, it's tough. I like Fantex a lot. I like Fractal Design a lot. I like Lee & Lee a lot. I like a few cases from NZXT, a few cases from Deepcool, a few cases from insert case manufacturer here. It's really tough. I don't think I can give you an answer. I would be happy with, I think that the top 3 for me right now are Lee & Lee because of their dynamic, how great the dynamic was, thanks in part to their collaboration with Bauer. And I also like Fantex. I think Fantex cases in general are really nice. And then I think Fractal Design makes very clean cases. So between those 3, that's what I'll give you. Sorry, I know it's not 1, but that's as good as I can get. That's as close as I can narrow it down. Let's see here. A couple more questions, folks. Give me the good stuff. We got about 2 or 3 more minutes in this live stream, and then I'm going to call it because my voice is dead. Bazinga says, Greg, try having 2 cats like I have. I've thought about it. People have told me that having 2 cats actually is better because then the cats can socialize between each other and not bother you all the time. Ow. Especially when I'm gone, right? She's alone. Usually she just sleeps when I'm gone. But, yeah, that's something I've thought about. So, wait, I don't know yet. She bit my foot, and now she's licking it. Like she's like, oh, I'm going to bite you. Oh, I'm so sorry. Cats. Typical cats. Let's see. Fantex Eclipse P400S or Mastercase Pro 5. In my experience, the P400S is a really good case. I don't think I've built in the Mastercase Pro 5, but I think you can't go wrong with a P400S. Let's see here. When is the Asus ROG AIO coming out? I have no idea. I've never even heard of that before. The closest I work with Asus is with their motherboards and occasionally a graphics card. Excuse me. Okay, let's see. Elias Arcan asks, why is it that in some games like League of Legends I get lower FPS because it's not using my graphics card usage? That would be optimization. You could also be limited by your CPU. League of Legends is not a super intensive graphical game, so you're going to be playing more than likely at a pretty high frame rate, and that's usually going to chop your CPU at its needs before your graphics card. So something to look at. Don't look at just GPU usage. Watch my, how to bring up system stats video, and it'll show you all of your stats, so you can see everything in relation to one another, so you can identify bottlenecks that way. It's actually a really good way to do that. Okay, Apple Device Pro, what state are you in? I am in Florida. And let's see, give me a couple more, give me some good stuff. Mihir Patel, why Noctua get a really horrible color scheme going on? Noctua's always been that way, as far as I can remember. They've always had that brown kind of industrial look. They do have black fans. They do have fans like that, just throwing that out there. But occasionally they'll come up with just like a brown kind of tan tinted fan. I know like their newest industrial grade fans, like the really quiet, I shouldn't say industrial grade, but the quiet ones come in the brown color scheme, and that's just Noctua. People buy them anyway because they're really, really quiet. They're almost silent, and I mean that's why Noctua is Noctua, right? Excellent cooling, especially air cooling. Johnny Fartgas, I love that name. I saw that last time. Why aren't you a rapper? Because I can't go on that long. My rhyming isn't that great. I can talk pretty fast, but my rhyming's not really that good. So, Sean Campbell, what is your favorite build to date? It's a really tough one. I'm not really too sure. I built a recent white custom loop in the white dynamic from Lee & Lee, PCO11 dynamic. That was one of my favorite builds. I really like my Andromeda custom loop build. I think Andromeda in the Fractal Design C was a really nice custom loop, and one of my best. Just because it was such a compact build, it was really tough to get some of those bends in there, but it was so clean afterwards. I think Andromeda is probably going to be one of my best builds of all time, just because of how technically difficult it was to get some of those bends in there. So, anyway, all right, one more question. Give me one more question. Show me the good stuff, folks. I appreciate it. Show me the good stuff, and we will be out of here. I need the good stuff. I need a question. Give me a good question, any question. I'll wait for the chat to catch up to the live stream. And then give me a second. And then let's see. I want to see him flood in. The good stuff, folks. I need the good stuff. I need the good stuff. All right, I see him rolling in. All right. All right, I like that. Robo Coffee, are you a fan of Metal Gear series? Absolutely, except I'm a fan more or less of the older Metal Gears. Metal Gear Solid was one of my favorite games growing up. Let's see. I see the good stuff. Samuel, how old is your cat? She's like 5 months, 4 months, something like that. She's not very old. I think she's still technically a kitten. She's pretty small, still growing a lot. And then let's see here. When is the next best time to purchase PC parts? I don't know, Blake. It's looking pretty good right now. Apart from RAM, which is still pretty expensive, graphics cards have come down a lot. I think now you should start considering building if you haven't already. And the last question here. Would you rather work with LTT or Bitwit? That's from Lojo Dojo. That's a good question. I think it depends on the content. Like if I was looking for something like really creative and funny and like just like catchy, I think I would want to work with Bitwit because Kyle's personality just fits the bill. I think like the guy's he's made for YouTube. And I've met Kyle personally a few times, and he's a cool dude. You know, he's real as he is on video. That's him in real life. I got a lot of respect for the guy. So Kyle for that kind of stuff. I think for the more like technical content, like the adventure type, like trying a new thing, experimental stuff, I'd want to go with Linus Tech Tips because they have all of that space at their disposal. I mean, come on, it's Linus. And I think that would just be a better environment for us to do tests like that. So if we ever were given an opportunity like that, then I would hope it would be from him because he has the infrastructure in place and all the tools and equipment needed to mod and create cool stuff. So anyway, folks, I appreciate it. I want you guys to do one last thing for me, okay? I like doing this after every live stream. At the end of every live stream, I want you guys to comment in the chat box with your best emoji, and I want you to do it right now. I don't care if you spam it. No one's going to ban you or anything like that, but just spam it with an insane emoji, like just block it up. I don't care, but I want to see them. I want you to flood the chat box, and that's how we're going to end the video, the live stream. Yeah, live stream, that's what this is. So give me your best emoji, give me the best shot, and I'm going to watch these things roll in as we call it quits here. Hey, see you, Chris. I see you, Chris. He says, I'm out. Laters. Thanks for stopping by, my dude. Thanks for helping out and answering the questions, too. Give me the good stuff. Give me the emojis. Let me see them. Oh, yeah, I see it, Epic Hunter. I see ya. What's going on, Andrew Robinson? Whole gamer with that. Okay. I see Gagak with that. Looks like he's nauseous. JM41, I see ya. Lojo Dojo, what's going on? Santo, Squad, 2K, Michael Folsom, Anis Basley, Kemi Torres, oh, Toxic Master, I'm getting the spam in here. Dennis Rigdon, I see you. What's going on, Chris, again? Kane Winkhart, I see Beatwolf44, Taylor Green. I see more from Toxic Master. I see Gianluca Grimaldi. Oh boy, this is good. I appreciate it. Majid Yahawi, totally butchered that name. These all look so good. I love that we can see these on the live stream because they look awesome. And this one was covered up for some reason. Let me show that one. There you go. West O. School Jackson. All right, you guys, I appreciate you stopping by in the live stream, checking us out for however long or short you've been here. This is After Hours number 17. Thanks for the love. Thanks for the awesome emojis to end this one. And we will catch you next week, same time, same place, 9 p.m. CST this Sunday night or Monday morning, depending on where you live.